All right. Okay. So today, um, we'll be discussing, or I will be discussing, and you'll be listening. Obviously, you have no choice. So I'll be discussing about something which I experienced this past week. I thought this experience was very um, informative, and it made me think a lot. Okay. This is what I want to discuss actually. You see, I have, I have, I like to um, learn things, right? Learning is very essential in life, and throughout life, you never stop learning. So, one thing and there are some experiences in life which you don't expect, right? You can't really expect this sort of experiences. But then, whenever you do come across such kind of experiences, which I will tell you what that experience is, whenever you do experience such things, it makes you think. It makes you retrospect, not just retrospect. That's not the right word. But introspect. It makes you think. And then, as a student myself, right? Obviously, we are all students. We are all students of life, right? So, as a student of various forms of ideologies, I like to learn a lot about ideologies. And then this past week, I had some experience with me. I mean, me and my wife, we went to buy some get some groceries, I suppose. Yeah, we went to get some groceries, and then we experienced something which really struck me. And then these are the sort of experiences which I have read about but never really experienced it, right? So this was my first time. I mean, maybe this is not, maybe I hope I'm not exaggerating, and maybe in some sense, maybe I am. But then there's lesson to be learned, and I think that it is best that we are all informed about this. All right. So back to the thing, the experience. So you see, the the title of what I'm talking about is about socialism, right? And the reason why I'm talking about socialism is because you see, it's essential to notice because right now, Nagaland as a society itself is undergoing we are at a crossroad, right? We are at a crossroad in which the future is determined by what we do now, and hence, if we make a mess of it, then in the future we can expect that the political scenario as well as the socio-economic scenarios in Nagaland will be quite dismal, quite miserable. So, okay, so that's what I'm most concerned about because I think at this crossroad, it is very very essential that all of us have, all of us are armed, not with guns, but I hope that we must arm ourselves with as much information and knowledge as possible regarding regarding the political issues, especially the Naga framework agreement. But nevertheless, I'll get to that. But then let me tell you my experience. All right. So the experience which I'm talking about. So here we go. So this week, we know that we are experiencing coronavirus, right, all over the world. And so here in Dimapur, because we live in Dimapur. So here in Dimapur, there's a lockdown. And then few last week, I suppose, last week it was mentioned that we'll have that the whole city of Dimapur is undergoing a lockdown, a total shutdown, right? So it was only on Monday of this week that we were allowed to go about and buy get some essentials. So me and my wife on Monday, first thing in the morning, we went down to the city to get some groceries, right? To get some groceries, and also to to get maybe if possible get some go to ATM and cash out some cash. So we were going there, and then there was certain thing that struck me a lot. You see, What we saw was that we saw people queuing up, right, in long lines, waiting to buy groceries, right, in ATMs to get their rations, to get their LPG. For those who are not from India, or for those who are watching outside of India, LPG means liquid petroleum gas, right? So, which we use in India for cooking, right? So people were queuing up in long lines to get their rations, to get their groceries, as well as to cash out money from the ATMs because cash was running. They were running out of cash, and also to get their LPG because without LPG gas they cannot cook, and also and also not only that, but also our movement, right? Also our movement was highly restrained, right? In other words, you cannot just simply go about, wherever you wish to go. I mean, you cannot go over there, you cannot go over here, right? If you go in here, you cannot come out of there. You can go to one neighborhood, but if you enter a neighborhood, you cannot come out of that neighborhood. And if you go to that neighborhood, then you must stay there, you cannot go out. So many restrictions, right? For instance, me and my wife, we got our groceries. We thought we'll cash out some money because we were out of cash. But then long queues all over the ATMs, right? Long queues. Line is never ending line, right? Never ending line. Long lines. And so after we got some groceries, and then we go to the groceries, and then we tried to come. We were on our way home, but then what happened? We were stopped by the police, and the long line in front of us, behind us, and we were told, well, we have to go back to where we came from, not our place, not our place, but back to wherever, I don't know, wherever we came from. So we had to circle around, tell the police officers that our reasons were genuine, right? And even then, the police were looking at us very suspiciously as though we were lying to them, which we were. but, but of course, we were not lying to them, obviously. So, so that's the whole scenario. So that is what I experienced, right? In other words, you see, from this very small experience which I had this week, is simply it made me realize something throughout my learning life, I suppose. I've I was very much influenced. I was not influenced, but I very much was interested to learn more about Marxism. I was very much interested to learn about communism and also socialism, right? And obviously, we have different strands of those thoughts, those ideologies. But nevertheless, in a very generic term, I did learn a lot, I read a lot, learned a lot, and I was very interested in socialism, communism, and Marxism. In fact, at the beginning, whenever I first experienced, uh, whenever I first came across Marxism or socialism or communism, I was very much, I was very much into it, right? I like this idea about, everybody being equal in every sense, more or less, and then, the idea of exploiting others, right? So those things really struck the nerve in me. But then the more I studied, the more I tried to learn. Of course, I'm not saying I have a total grasp and understanding of socialism or communism or Marxism in general, but whatever. But I do understand how essential, how how attractive the ideas of socialism is, or the ideas of Marxism, or the ideas of communism. Those are some, they present a very compelling and very attractive ideologies, right? They do. But at the same time, the consequences, because those are ideas. Socialism is an idea, right? For instance, for in this video, I'm just going to talk about socialism, and we're going to assume well, more or less. I mean, for Marx, what is socialism, right? Socialism, in order to get to Marxism, or I'm sorry, communism, you have to get to socialism, right? It's a logical procession, right? The historical materialism, right? It's linear process from capitalism to socialism to Marxism. So, in order to get to, I'm sorry, to capitalism to communism. So, in order to get to communism, you have to get to socialism first. and much in the same way, it was a historical necessity for the capitalist society to exist in order for socialism to progress itself. And from there, it made it necessarily possible. It makes it necessarily inevitable for socialism to again morph or turn into transform itself into communism. But then when those ideas are very attractive, they are very, very attractive ideas, no doubt. In fact, I, at one point in my life, was very much influenced by the ideas of socialism, of by ideas of Marxism or communism. I admired Marx, I admired Fourier, I admired Owen, right? Then Saint-Simon. But the thing is, as attractive as these ideas were, still are, whenever we try to implement these utopic ideas such as socialism, in this regard, with regards to this video, the socialism, it's not. Whenever we try to implement such utopic, such idealistic ideals, idealistic views of what is possible, and try to implement that and try to realize such an idea in the real world, what we get is anything but what is being expected, anything but equality, anything but peace, anything but love, right? Anything but freedom, right? You don't even have to take my word for it. If anyone, I hope that all of you have, if any one of you or if any one of us is rudimentarily, I mean, in a very basic form, if you have any knowledge about history, basic history, it will tell you. Look at look at the socialism, or look at the socialism or communism in Soviet Union. Look at how many people died over there under the rule of Stalin or Lenin, right? Or look at China under Mao Zedong, or look at Pol Pot in Cambodia, right? Look at what happened to Yugoslavia, the former Republic of Yugoslavia. That was communism too. If you look at any sort of, if you look at any sort of real life implementation of these ideals of socialism and communism and whatnot, what you find is what you find is what you find is pure destruction, pure malevolence, right? Pure inhumanity, right? Nothing else but just pure destruction. Millions of people died, right? All that ideals about equality, right? There's no private property. All that comes to nothing, right? None of it becomes possible. None of it is realizable. You see, one thing I tried to personally study this mass movement of socialism, communism, Marxism, and the kinds of society which they eventually construct. And the results are very, very petty, right? It's not very pretty, right? It's you get what you get is authoritarianism, brutality, mass violence in human conditions, right? Nothing else but that. And what I've realized is that, and this comes back to the key issue over here about the politics in Nagaland, right? The so-called the framework agreement, which is being led by the NSCNs. Ends again, please be careful about what I'm saying. I'm saying NSCNs, plural, right? So you have various groups, NSCNs, NSCN I am, you are, NSCN I am, NSCN you, NSCN K, NSCN K, another K, NSCN R, and RNB, GPN, whatever it is. You have so many, right? Close to 10, I don't know, more than 10, I suppose. And if you look at it, if you look at the the full forms of what those words stand for is NSCN, right? So it's It's Nationalist Socialist Council of Nagaland. Socialism, right? Socialist. You see, and if with regards to the framework agreement, which is supposed to be, all the governors and all the stakeholders and all the groups which are in all the groups who are in talks with the government of India are claiming that the solution is almost there, right? It's almost there. But then, of course, obviously, there are some groups who are saying now, "No, it's we don't agree with what is being put on the table by the government of India." So we'll see. But regardless, if we do have a solution, if we do find solution, right? Solution is that the solution, whatever the solution may be, whatever the solution, I don't care about the specifics, right? We're just talking just if in case, right? Just in case. If the solution, if the solution gives any rebel groups, whatever groups they are, right? If it gives any rebel groups because they are rebels, they are not freedom fighters, right? They are not. They don't represent me. They don't represent you, right? They don't. So if any of the rebel groups, such as and any of the rebel groups, if the government of India provides a blank check or an open slate, like a blank slate to those rebel groups, that okay, you know what, as long as you remain within the constitution of India, right, as long as you remain within the bounds of the Indian constitution, as long as you try not to bring up the issues of of separating yourself from the Union of India, like we will give you utmost freedom to do whatever kind of, to reconstruct the system in Nagaland itself, right? Which I'm sure, if the government of India says that, I'm sure these NSCNs, whoever they are, they will not miss this opportunity to reconstruct, to restructure the whole system, right? To restructure the whole system. Then if that happens, then I'm afraid the sort of experience which I've mentioned, right, which I've spoke of earlier, and which we have experienced, will become our new normal, right? In other words, you see, the reason why I bring up this issue and the reason why I say this is because, you see, whenever me along with my wife, whenever two of us experience this, whenever we experience what we experience, right, it reminded me of what socialism is, right, of what socialism system, of what socialistic system inevitably entails. And what is that? What do we get in socialism? You may say, oh, there will be no, the inequality between the rich and the poor will be reduced, right? There will be equality, right? There will be no private property. There will be no exploitation. Yes, there will be exploitation, right? Not only will there not be, not only will there be exploitation, but what you will also get, what you will also get in socialist system is what we, everybody, all of us right now at this moment in time, whatever we are experiencing right now, like standing in long queues to get our rations, standing in long queues to get our ATMs, standing in long queues to get our groceries, standing in long queues to get our LPGs, standing in long lines to buy vegetables, right? That's what awaits us. Not only that, you can pretty much say bye bye to your private property, because who knows? All your property will be taken away, right? Who knows? Who is to stop them, right? Who is to stop them? Who is to stop the government if they take it away from you, right? And the thing is this, and I have not even gotten to the meat of what I'm talking about. You see, not only will you be, you see, the thing is this, right now, it is when, because we're facing coronavirus, whenever you go and get groceries, you are only allowed to get only 1 kg or 2 kg of this and that, right? You are not allowed to buy as much as you wish. Yes or no, right? That is what socialism is. Right now, it is fine because we are under this coronavirus thing, pandemic. That's fine. But under socialism, you'll be limited. You will be restricted to how much kilo or grams of vegetables you can buy, how many kilos of potatoes you can buy, tomatoes you can buy, onions you can buy, right? Or sugar can you buy? You have no say. You have no say as to how many kilos of, how many kilos of rice you have to buy, right? Yes, you think I'm lying? No, it's not. That's why this experience made me think this. Even if you go to ATM, right? Even if you go to ATM, who knows? You may be restricted as to how much amount of money you can cash out, right? That is taking into consideration that you are given, at least the banks are left untouched. But if it is, then you'll be even restricted as to how much money you can have in your bank account, how much money you can take out from your ATMs, right? That is what it is. Not only that, your movement, where you can go, where you cannot go, will be restricted. The new government will tell you what you can do, where you can go, where you cannot go, how your whole life is restricted. Your whole life will be restricted and your whole life will be defined. You as a person, you as a family will be defined. You cannot say anything else. And who knows? They may even tell you how to behave, what to say, what you can believe, how much property you can own, right? And how much money you will be allotted. You may think that I'm trying to exaggerate things, but this is not exaggeration. Look at history. History will tell you any kind of socialist government does this. If you don't believe me, go and read history. History don't lie. History does not lie. History gives us advice. It gives us advice as to what we should avoid, what we can do to avoid the malady that awaits us. Indeed, more much of the press, much of the news media in Nagaland, the newspapers, they will never tell you about these things, right? For God's sake, Nagaland Post will not even publish your article if it challenges the status quo, right? They suck up to the government, right? You think I'm lying? Most, yes, and look at, and even the Eastern Mirror itself. If you write anything against the present government, right? They will not publish it. Why? Because it is owned by them, right? By them, but you know who, right? No, that's the thing. So even the media, even the news media are biased. You are being told what they decide what you should read. They decide what you should believe, right? They do. And you don't know that. You think that you know everything, but you don't. That's what socialism is. They tell you what to do. They tell you what to think. They tell you what is right. They're already doing it, but then you don't see it, do you? Right? So, so just in case, so if if in the solution, the framework agreement, if in the solution, if any group, if any rebel group are given the authority to restructure the society, they will do it. For it is without a doubt that any rebel or militant groups being given the chance to restructure the society, of course, it is under the tacit permission given by the central government of India, then it will not bring forth misery to the people. You think I may be exaggerating, but we will see. We will see who is. We will see who's right. And I'm afraid that the system is going to be socialistic because NSCN, right? The very word socialism is there, and they will do it. And if you have read the numerous press releases all these various groups do give out in daily newspapers, you will find that they are very, very socialistic in their ideas, in their view of the world, right? And the system, and if they do come to power, and if the government of and if they do form the new government, then I'm afraid it's going to be a socialistic system. One and the socialistic system is one of the most brutal, right? Most brutal system to have ever concocted by a naive, equally malicious persons, right? They are. I don't think I don't think whoever in Europe, whoever came up with this idea of socialism, really, I don't think they truly care. I think they were just because they were not in power, they want to be in power, hence they said, okay, socialism works for us, yay, right? All of us.